Hello, today we're going to be talking about Stylescapes, and as part of our design series where we dive a little deeper into the process of design. Been getting a lot of questions about that online, so shifting gears from strategy and the business part, so stick around, guys.
Yay!
Come on, that was
great. No, that was great. Good job, guys.
Good job.
We're getting the hang of this.
Thank you very much for the huge audience we have.
Huge audience. It's ginormous in here. So welcome to the School Live. Hashtag us always at School Live. I'm Chris Doe, and I talk about the business of design. And joining me, as always, is Guru.
Jose Caballero, and I talk about the design of business.
Excellent.
Boom.
So, Jose, we're going to talk about Stylescapes. What are they? And we're going to break it into 3 segments. Un, deux, trois. What are they?
Gathering your ingredients to get ready, or research, as Chris Doe would call it. Telling a story, or laying
Curating.
it out. Curating,
as I call it.
And making it artful, the design aspect of it.
That I agree with.
What makes a good-looking stylescape, and how do you design that? So a lot of you have been wanting to see this, so here today I'm cooking for you guys live.
It's going to be awesome. And unlike normally, Jose will do most of the talking today.
Let's get ready.
All I'm going to do
Unlike normally, which I do all the time anyway.
I'm just going to listen and keep you on the clock. All right, and I'm going to ask a few questions. Are you ready, my friend?
I am ready. I have not been this ready ever. I Chris Doe this presentation.
Just for audience clarification, what is Chris Doe?
Like mean? When you do shit like really tight, like West Side, like that. I don't know if that makes any sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense. I prepared.
You prepared.
I prepared.
You actually put some effort into it, and it's organized.
Versus lazy Puerto Rican people, yes.
So we.
All right.
So we need to have a subtitle. What Chris Doing, the definition.
But I change it all the time.
Can we create like a school wiki?
Yeah.
Instead of what Chris Doing
we call it Dorktionary.
Dorktionary? I like that. I like that. Hashtag Dorktionary. Perfect. All right. So I'm going to put you on the clock, right?
I own the domain, so for you fuckers out there who would want to have it.
Do you seriously?
I do.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So
can we ease up on the F-bombs? This is a family show, man. Family show. Guru.
Okay, you can't go to prayer after that.
All right.
No.
Okay, let's go.
Stylescapes. My apologies to the children.
Okay, Stylescapes.
Stylescapes. So here we go. I'm going to just go straight through this. So what is it? It's a design deliverable that helps present the visual language direction of a project. They consist of fonts, color, logo, form, images, and interface or physical elements in the case scenario if something is something like a restaurant. What they are not. They're not mood boards, and they're not mock-ups. So mood boards meaning...
So are they in between?
It's a different thing. So here's a mood board, like different moods.
Okay, let's look at this for a second.
Basic, sexy, comfortable, and I found this on the interwebs. That's not a stylescape. That's just a mood board of a lot of references. I created a reverse Chris Doe ladder. Instead of going up, it's going down. But so
I like that. You descend into the
descend into the abyss.
Right.
But the idea is that you want to scaffold, from the high level, from the 30,000-foot view, the brief, into approval of the design. And what a lot of you guys do out there is that you get a brief and you get really eager and you go home and you design comps. Let's say you're a web designer like me, and you show the client comps and they freak that beep out. Because it's too high fidelity and it's too soon. You need to, give them a little bit of TLC before you get them to agree on what the direction is. What we do in our process in the School OS is that we basically create something called Stylescapes. There's something called Style Tiles, which you can also research. It's very similar, pretty much almost the same thing, with a slight exception, and we make ours a little bit more artfully. I learned this from Henry Min, and he got it from Digitas. You just got to give reference to where you got it. I didn't invent it. So here we go. So
wait. Before we go on, so from the brief, most designers go straight into presenting comps right away.
Right away.
And they find that there's a lot of friction. We always get this question, how do you convince the clients of your design? Because for some reason, they've not involved or enrolled their clients into the process of the design. Right? So what I like to think of it as your reverse scaffolding. Really what you're doing is you're creating a series of logical decisions and things to talk about so you arrive at a common place. There should be no surprise.
But the key is the stepping towards it. Not like going, ah!
Not like a straight drop.
It's like that. Like you can't just go whoop and drop into it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
I have no idea what that meant.
Yeah, okay. All right. So let's get into it. So we're already kind of eating.
Let me show you. Let me show you. Here's the Stylescape for a project.
This is an actual Stylescape.
This is an actual Stylescape for a real project. AMF, Alfred Mann Foundation. Here they are, 3 of them being presented to the client. They're based on the brief. They have, a specific narrative that's being told in them. Here is another client being presented the initial Stylescapes. If you look at them, these are the mild, spicy, mild, medium, and spicy version. And after we did this, we listened to each of their feedbacks, what they liked and they didn't like. I open up a Google Doc and I say, what do you like about this one? Neutrally, don't defend yourself. A lot of people try to sell there, and this is the wrong time to sell. Let them say, God, this is ugly. Who the fuck designed this? Oh, wait, sorry. Beep. Okay. Nobody has ever said that. But we took their feedback, a little bit of the second one and the middle one, and we combined it. So a lot of people say design by committee is horrible. But this actually looks pretty on brand to what they already had in their print material,
this looks really good.
Yeah, it gave an idea of all the elements. So how does this work?
Wait, go back.
Oh.
You know what I like about this? Is that it takes it away from the grid structure of what you would commonly associate with a website. You're allowed to think a little more freely. So you know how you have that control thing, whatever that digital looking interface is, and it's at an angle, kind of on a Dutch angle, and it's floating on top, and there's shadows. It looks really good in the photography, the way it disappears, so it's breaking away the grid. Oftentimes, I know when I start thinking about a website, you start to put everything in boxes really fast. So I like the way that you do these really long kind of cinematic Stylescapes, sequences, so that you don't think about that. You're just thinking about the fonts and how they look with the imagery, and it starts to inform the design direction. Enough said.
No, but I like that you're saying that, and as a motion guy, it's interesting you're saying that. I've always been kind of a little bit in between motion and digital, and really the whole static thing, the whole like square boxes is really limiting for designers. I like your comment. That's actually very interesting insight. So I just want to show you guys. I want to go right into it. So Chicken Bistro, which is an ongoing case study, first you're going to do a work session with them, and here's Chris. This is a client of Chris's, and it's a fake client.
It's a fake client.
He's doing the brand attributes and the user profiles or the customer profiles with the client. After you're done with that, you present it back to them in the brief. Here it is, the core workbook, and you have the brand attributes. And the brand attributes ended up being the top ones: healthy, families, nurturing, energized, and the impact it has is that it helps you live longer. The X factor is artful. Again, you did this with your client. You did not come up with these. You basically used the core process to do it. Here's the family. It's the Vu family. It's the hipster Asian family, inspired by Chris Do and a bunch of other people I know. So this is a composite of different people. You have a young family, and they have basically their needs are easy meals. Chicken Bistro is a restaurant.
Fast casual.
Fast casual, yeah. It needs to fit their budget and fit in their lifestyle. This is the next generation of consumer. This is who's going to be, and Chicken Bistro is going to be replacing the what's a fast casual right now, like, that you see in the strip malls, like Red Lobster or something like that.
Panda Express?
Yeah, like that. Like perfect example. So if we go back to the hipster Asian family, so they need simple, fast, and family and healthy family meals, stylish interiors to fit their lifestyle, and great value for their money. So those things are pretty much corresponding to the needs and why. This is the TAT.
So this is a reposition for a fast casual place, right?
Yes.
Chicken Bistro. So through understanding the customer's needs and current trends in where things are going with dining.
Yeah. And let's say that this is a mom and pop. I mean, this is their first or second store.
Okay.
This is the first time they're going through this process.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, let's say they have 2 or 3 stores. They make a lot of money. So, and by a lot of money, okay. So I'm going to skip these, but this is what the client says they love and hate as it relates to the audience. The competitors: Sanku Chicken, Boston Market is the one I was thinking.
Okay, yeah.
Chili's, Hometown Buffet, Mendocino Farms, Chipotle, and Tender Greens. Those start going towards the edge because those are more, a little bit upper scale. This is what Boston looks like, and this is what Zanku looks like. This is what you have today in the American strip mall and what we're working to replace.
So here we are. We're actually on step one.
So that was the intro.
That was a long intro, my friend.
So step one,
we're going to be over time. You got to make up time, okay?
I'll make up time.
All right.
Here are the tools that I used. I use Adobe Cooler. I use Pinterest. I use Behance. I use Typography Served, which is a website from Behance. Best Web Designs as a reference site. And Shutterstock and FontSpring. And here's how I use them.
People love seeing your resources, so I'm glad you shared that with them.
And those links are below, so you can see
you can figure it out,
man.
Well,
you can also
look, if you're watching the show and you can't figure out how to find these things,
don't insult the people. Come on, we put the links below.
I'm saying.
You're too stupid if you can't type in.
If you can't figure out how to search for Behance, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's true. So
that's a different class.
In the brief,
it's a short bus.
We put. So Christo just called you guys short bus riders.
I did not.
Sure.
Our audience rides a long bus.
Who says they even ride a bus?
I don't know.
Most of them drive or walk. You know what's interesting, and you asked me, and you guys asked me, the whole team said, Jose, share your process. The thing that took me the longest.
Share your process.
The thing that took me the longest was gathering all these assets. The designing of the putting it together is the shortest part. Well,
oh yeah, you're right.
Prepping, cooking, finding all those things.
Sourcing great ingredients.
Sourcing great ingredients. So
to go along with your analogy.
I'm going to switch out as an experiment here, and per Christo, I have everything bookmarked, so it's like a cooking show. So Pinterest, and again, I'll put the link to the Pinterest board for those of you who are on Pinterest. I basically curated a whole chicken pieces of the things that I like. This was the first image I put there that struck me. And a lot of the things that are influencing me are trends in popular culture, things that I like. Living in Portland a large part of last year, going to music festivals. All these things is really influencing what I perceive as what it is.
This board that you put together is really beautiful on Pinterest. What's this got to do with the client?
So I use some of those here as reference.
Okay.
So there's 3 directions that we put together. I'm going to show you one. Each direction is slightly different. And each direction, I choose different attributes to
highlight. So how many directions are you going to show?
I'm going to show one.
Just one.
But for example, this one focuses on artisanal, energized, and community. Those are the 3 ingredients that I'm focusing on. So you can see in here some of the references. Then here you can see some of the space references that I'm looking at. I like the one on the upper left a lot. I like how there's graffiti in the one in the center, and all of these are different styles, but slightly in the same vein. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So,
but are you tying these together with the keywords?
Yes.
Because I want to clarify something here.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of young designers or people who aren't used to working with a brief, they just impose their aesthetic. Actually, it's what you love in your life. And you just push that back onto the client, and then you get a lot of pushback and resistance naturally. So the keywords that you had on your deck, can you bring that up?
Yeah. So one thing. Well, let's call a spade a spade, and this is really the truth in general relative to how I do this. I choose different designers to do, and again, I'm talking to the people out there that are more than one person or that subcontract other designers to work on their stuff.
Yeah.
I choose 3 different designers based on their aesthetic. So I'll go on Behance or on Dribbble, and I'll find a designer, reach out to a few, and based on what references the client gave us in the brief. They love this, they hate this. So based on the loves of what they love, I chose designers.
Okay.
Then each designer is like a cook-off, a bake-off. I call it a bake-off. Each designer has one Stylescape. And whichever one the client chooses, that's the direction we're going to kind of go in. I tell the client, 80% choose one if you have, choose one. You have to choose one. And you can bring in some percentage of the other ones into it, but one as a base.
Hold on. What I'm trying to clarify, you want to say something?
We have a question.
Okay, great. Let me take it from David Cohen 1 second.
Sure.
The one thing I wanted to say is if we can bring back that slide on Jose's laptop where there's words called out in red. You can see under culture there's healthy, families, nurturing, energized, live longer, and artful. Those typically are the words that I would use to begin the research gathering ingredients things. So I think about the word healthy, and I try and find images, graphics, photography, lifestyle, interiors that all belong in that healthy space, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the thing, when you guys go to pick words with your clients, Let them choose whatever words they want. But later on, think about words that are visual. And I teach this a lot in my class. Not all words are created equal. They have similar meanings, but there's words that instantly connote an image, and that's going to help you as a designer. Okay? So let's do David Coe's question.
You do a really good job. And while you're doing, go ahead, ask the question.
What's David Coe's question? Can David ask it live or?
Yeah.
No, okay.
It's in the questions here, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It's relevant to what we were talking about yesterday in that how far you vary your directions. Can you show at least one more direction so we can see how far, contrast-wise?
So he's talking about Chris and I talked about this. There's two approaches to that. One is have the directions be very different. So if you look at my slides, and you might not see it 100% but I'll try to point it out to you. If you look at this slide, notice that the one on your right, my left, is like red with like a dark brown.
Looks hot.
It's hot. Yeah, we had one of those. One of the words was that, and this is a music brand. It's a manufacturer of equipment. The middle one is black and gold, and that's based on one of the product lines. It's black and gold. Then the last one is super clean, and the concept.
Like Apple-esque.
Yeah, Apple. Audi. Exactly. Apple and Audi were. You're a genius.
Thank you.
Those are exactly the references.
That's what I tell myself every day.
We used in it to show them. Like we showed them the Audi website, and we showed them that.
Yes.
So this is the same presentation to the same client, and it was to get their temperature. The other approach, which Chris and I were talking about, is that there's not that many differences between them, that they're very nuanced. Like the Trojan storage one actually is.
Let's
like
talk about that for a second. We're going a little bit off schedule, and as a guy who's like super tight about the schedule.
David, you're messing up Chris's flow.
I'm going to give us permission for 30 seconds to talk about this.
Okay.
We talked about this. Typically, you have these brand attributes, and you go out and gather things, and you put together perhaps 3 different stylescapes, ranging from conservative to being really on brief to something that's totally wacky that you think there's probably no way that they're going to like this, but it's just on the fringe of what they might accept. It's something in the middle. These days, I've been talking to Jose about this, is that when I understand what they want and it's very clear to me, I have a hard time creating 3 stylescapes that are that different. Because I'm looking for very specific things. It's a very logical progression. So why don't we throw up the Trojan storage one?
It's a question of knowing your client too, David. There are clients, so here's Trojan.
If you look at this, they're really not that different. Because we knew that their clientele are mostly women, they're single moms or they're in transition and they need a place that feels safe, warm, and friendly. So the color palette communicates that. I mean,
well, also they're USC guys. They wanted yellow and red.
Yes, but if you look at red, yellow, and blue, those are primary colors. No, they're primary colors.
Yeah.
And you look at all the children's toys, it's primary colors. It makes sense. So we just try to make it a little more sophisticated.
But there's some nuances here in the styles. I mean, if you look at the first one, there's like a bit of a tan background, has sans serif. It has that idea of the thing protecting the word Trojan. The second one has a slab serif, which is very strong.
How'd you say that?
Slab serif?
I thought you said slob.
Not slob. Yeah, you slobs. The third one is lowercase, which is more French. Slob serif. The third one has the diagonal. So, you know, and it's playing off the stairs. So there's definitely some nuances between them. But at the end of the day, it was about choosing this one or this one, like in an eye test, right? The presentation that you saw for the music brand, it was like totally different. And here's the key. That was on purpose because I was measuring the temperature of a group of people that had very disparate opinions and a lot of polemics. So you wanted to see where they were going to land.
All right, let's get back on schedule.
Let's get back on schedule.
Thanks for that question, David. Thanks for tuning in.
So you talked about brand attributes. So I defined the family. So I started looking for images, you know, of Asian.
Why is it Asian, by the way?
Well, that's one of the user profiles. They're not the only ones.
Okay.
There's more. Right. But I'm looking at demographics. Latino and Asian youth we're the highest growing, you know, demographic.
We just breed more?
Yes, but also just in terms of disposable income, in terms of just the numbers.
Sure.
I'm looking at the numbers.
Got it.
There's going to be a hipster Asian couple going to this place with their new kids, no matter which way you slice it, right? So I found a lot of images on Shutterstock, which is awesome, and you can find some really good images. You know, what did I search for? Asian hipster.
Is that seriously what you typed in?
That's what I searched. You just go straight to the point. So some of these images, like this one, is really great.
That girl's not Asian.
She's like Eurasian. She's pretty hot. All right, so let's go back.
I think Nicole just gave you the get to the freaking point.
All right, chickens, and even some chickens. I'm gathering a lot of ingredients, like the things that I'm thinking as references, and these are all vectors, so it's really awesome. So now, oh look, and some free-range chickens. So here's the thing, what I discovered this morning, as I'm doing this, it's like, this is how, I'm gonna go back to the main deck, this is how I'm freaking getting my ideas of what direction to go in. It was during the research. It's like tea leaves. So here we go. You did that. You do the work.
I thought you were going to say it's my face, but all right.
No. So gather your ingredients. All right. And here's where I gathered them.
No, you already gathered your ingredients.
I already did this.
Don't
I put
go
them together.
backwards.
I'm not going back. I'm going forward. I'm trying to get there. Here we go. Tell a design story. This is really critical. This is the standard template I use. 56 inches wide, 10.5 inches tall. I print them and I send them to Kinko's to be mounted. Super awesome to walk into a client presentation for a web project with a printed thing. Here's the other issue. It's so uncomfortable you don't know where to put it. So people put them in their office, they put them on like their, somewhere in the office. Everybody comes up and says, ooh, are those the website designs? Here's the secret.
Is this like Fibonacci sequence? Like how'd you come up with 10.5 and 56?
It's two 1024s. It's nice side by side. Don't worry about it, dude.
All right. I'm trying to do the math.
I'm trying to do the math. 56 inches is 2.
It's like Da Vinci Code is still trying to figure this one out.
It's like 3 or 2 web widths, whatever. Here we go. It's long and a little bit longer than shorter. All right.
So you go for length, not girth. Is that what you're saying?
Dude, keep it above board. Identity explorations at the top, at the beginning. Color palette, the second part. Fonts and typography, then imagery and image usage. If it's a website or an app, like showing how the layout and the functionality might work, different examples, it really depends on your audience. So like this, I'm showing layout, and then I'm showing like an app. Oops, 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 oops. Right there, you can see that there's an app. But then the focus shot. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how I came up with that, and this is in this next section. So here's an example of a Stylescape that really followed the template. So
yeah, that's really interesting. Before you move on, go back to that layout, the previous slide.
This one?
Yeah, when you look at the finished product, I'm going to toggle for you. When you look at the finished product of the Stylescape, it kind of can seem and look a little arbitrary. So now that you've kind of pulled back the curtain, it's actually following a very specific formula.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
And you send this to all your designers who are doing the bake-off, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
I give them the Illustrator file, and I give them a few examples, and I say, here, you can go nuts. But I give them the brief. And they only get one direction. They don't get 2, they don't get 3, they don't get to choose. I assign them the direction. Does that make sense?
What direction are you assigning them?
So I curate the designer.
Your medium, spicy, or hot?
Right.
Or
so I usually choose medium, and I'll give somebody hot to go crazy, a really good designer.
Really on point.
And then somebody who's maybe a little younger, a little less confident, I'll give them the mild.
So if you get the mild brief from Jose, he doesn't believe in you.
No, I do believe in you. I believe
you're inexperienced and not confident.
It's just you're growing.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
You're a small Padawan. You're coming up in the world. All right, so step 3 is make it artful.
There's probably a better way to describe that, but all right.
So comic books are a big influence on me, and I know they are on you. Chris has more comics than,
I have a lot of
his
comics.
bank account affords way more comics than mine.
Or I'm just more of a pack rat hoarder.
Yeah, I don't keep many, but
I keep all.
I'm too transient. The idea here is to look at the scale. So if you look at a frame in a film, and if you look at a frame in a comic, look at how dynamic it is, right? Like it's actually flowing from left to right. It's telling the story. So
okay, go ahead. Do your thing.
I'm Chris doing it here. So look at the analysis. In the analysis of it, if you look at the sequence, look at the scale and proportion. You see it?
I just saw yellow balls.
I'm trying to illustrate the proportions, that it's starting small and getting bigger to a crescendo. So look at the same thing here. If you look at this, it does the same thing.
I teach this in my storyboarding class, and if we can go back to this, really, if you want a dynamic composition, wait, where
it's
were
up, basically.
Okay, up. If you want a really dynamic composition, all you have to do is compose with things that are small, medium, and large.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a simple trick.
Yep.
Right? All right, we can get into more composition
We're not going to
analysis,
talk
but
about
we don't
composition,
need to.
but here's what I want to make the point. Here's what I don't like when somebody does in a fucking, in a Stylescape. It's when they cluster everything very evenly and like make it look like a website. This is not a website. It's too even. It doesn't look good. So finally, I'm here going to show the process. So let's start doing one.
Are we doing it for Chicken Bistro?
Yeah, for Chicken Bistro.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get back on track.
So we're back on track. So I'm going to do a demo here, a really quick demo for you guys of Chicken Bistro. So I already cooked it, and before I take it out of the oven, let me just show you a little bit of my thinking process. So the first thing I did is I put in the hero image. I started backwards. You would think that you would start with the identity. I'm actually letting the narrative evolve from her, because the end result is, healthy, right? So, and then I started, so one thing that would be really good is to show these things side by side. So if you go back to the brief, I'm actually referring to the brief. I'm looking at this page here. So I'm going to pinpoint exactly what I chose. So this first image I chose as an inspiration for the hero, so it's black and white. Oh, how did I get the color palette? So this is funny. So here's how I got the color palette. In Adobe Cooler, I basically did two things. I typed in energy, which is one of the words I chose, and the other word I typed in was health, and I saw what color palettes they had, and I selected
You waited for the
one.
internet to catch up?
No, but I spliced two color palettes together.
Yeah.
I chose the colors from health, and you can see them on the left, the blue, and the one energy had the yellow, and I put them together. So health and energy are the two keywords that I'm using for this direction, and keeping in mind that they're the two top attributes. So I could actually correlate them when I present this to the client if I wanted to. So we chose health as an attribute, blue is for health. I would even pull research that blue is used most for hospital interiors, and I can, and I know that because we've been designing for a long time. So yellow, of course, the sun, right? This is a music festival. Lib, and it was in their things that they like, some layouts from the web, etc. So, but this is my main inspiration. This, I loved it, and you see how it's blobby, right?
What are you pointing at?
I'm pointing at this poster.
Move your mouse around.
Okay,
there we go. Okay, got it.
It's
There
not
you
moving
go.
too fast.
Got it.
So if you go back to this, you'll notice that what I'm doing is taking the idea of overlay on a black and white image, and the idea of blobbiness from that poster, and I'm beginning to put it together. And then I keep going with it conceptually, and I start bringing in the brand attributes and the color palette, and notice that all the other stuff's starting to disappear. I'm carving it like a piece of clay. Then I'm bringing in...
I thought you were going to say like a turkey.
No, not like
You're cooking analogy, and now it's
and that's turkey. So then, this is a big jump, between the two. The blobby thing was interesting, and some reclaimed wood and some of the elements from the Shutterstock, chicken kind of themes. And then I have a template, so I'm putting the primary typography, I'm putting the secondary photography. But here's where it got interesting. So to come up with a name, we've never come up with a name. Like Chicken Bistro is just like a random name, right?
Yeah.
I started doing research, and if you bring the camera back to me, this is where here we can get into the argument about bringing in your own influences and what you think. So I'm thinking of young Asian kids and culture. I've been reading like a lot of motorcycle magazines.
Which one is that?
This is Zombie Dice, and it's at a thing called Trico in Silver Lake. And it's super awesome, and it has ads, and it you can see some of the design aesthetics.
Biker girls.
In the ads, biker girls, yeah, scantily clad. So the point about it is that this, to me, just looking at this culture, has been interesting. So as I start doing it, I search for Japanese biker club. And I started getting this whole thing. That's a little premature there on the side. Let me open the actual. Let me actually open the actual brief in the Illustrator file. So let's zoom into this and just walk you through it a little bit. The other thing for people, again, let me just complete the. So if you bring up my computer, the other thing is how did I get the fonts? I actually searched fonts first. I forgot where I found the first. Oh, on Typography Served, I went through it and I found a font that I thought was interesting because I liked how it worked in uppercase. But then I downloaded it and it had really bad kerning because these are the free fonts, right?
Right.
So I said, you know what? Let me try to find a better font. My go-to place is FontSpring. I love FontSpring because they'll give you like 2 or 3 cuts of the font so you can test, and then you have to buy the rest of the cut. But you know what? Testing it and then paying a couple $100 for a client,
that
who
works.
cares? So I found a really nice one in Nexa Rust. I thought it was a little too rusty and too artisanal, but there's the dudes from the Japanese Motorcycle Club in my research. So I'm using Google, but then the concept that came to my mind, and I love the idea of Rebel Chicken Club. You know when you have a chicken, again, I'm playing with all these concepts at the same time in my head. And the goal is, and when I have clients say, Jose, we love what you do by taking the brief and really making it interesting and making it unique. This is being presented in the context of another direction that might be totally like, nice colors and subdued, and it looks like Mendocino farms with a lot of chickens.
Right.
But one of the directions is a little bit on the biker tip. So I came up with a name, and maybe I lived in Portland too long. Range, Rebel Chicken Bistro. I love it. Like, I would totally go there. And then again, as it progresses to the right, I need to put more
free
range. Free range. Yeah.
Range.
Free range chicken. You got it. So it's the whole concept of free range chicken. The audience missed the whole bump.
Yeah. There's a fist bump in there.
I mean, here's a couple of things to note. Are you using current tropes in design? Yes. I mean, I saw your work for Olis. The whole issue of originality and inventiveness that people talk about. Like, what's
the alternative to using existing tropes? What are those people that are reacting to that? What's the nerve that is being touched?
Like, I taught at UCLA, and one of the guys was really bad. You're bad, and you should feel bad. That's how bad of a designer you were. No, I sound like Chris Do. Wow. No, you're awesome, and the spirit was wonderful. I told him to look at other design to reference it and to make it as good as that first, and then go forward with originality. And he told the dean that I was telling him to copy or to plagiarize, and I'm like, no, I'm just telling you not to suck.
You don't sound like Jose right now.
Let's go back. It's true. But the point, I've been hanging out with you too much. Now
you can't blame me for every single thing.
Okay, but here's my point. To answer that, all the different influences that are coming in with the interiors coming into this. So like, let's say if I really quickly, I were to go back here and I were to draw.
Are you almost done?
I'm done.
Because you have a minute left.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, hold the question. I need to let him finish, and then we'll hit that.
I mean, the point I was trying to make too is that your what the design is or becomes is really going to come from.
So you're pulling interiors that you think captures the brand attributes, right?
Right.
Okay.
And that you're talking to your client. I mean, this is not.
You design. I'll talk. Come on. Are you almost done with your thing?
Yeah. Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. So I really like the way that you came up with that name, Range, but even like that font. It's got a good humanistic quality to it, and it's been really interesting for me to see your process and the way you do this. It's kind of making me rethink about how I approach things.
In what way? What do you mean by that?
Well, you keep working. I'll expand on that. Okay. Well, in that there's a lot. I'm a big fan for structure and kind of understanding what it is that you're trying to do. And when you have a structure, there's a good chance that you can repeat it and have consistent output, right? Nothing like a lack of process scares people, artists and clients alike, because you never know if you're going to get there. You don't know what you're going to get. So I like that you have a very clear structure on how to build your stylescapes and the function.
Yeah.
Now, there's a question that came in, so while you're working, why don't we answer the question? Why don't we cut to Nicole? Can we cut to Nicole? She's going to ask the question.
The question was from David Coe, and he said, when you ask the designers to create these stylescapes, do you pay them, or is it a way for them to pitch to get hired as the designer for the entire project? That's
a great question. I'm going to answer it for Jose while he's doing his thing. We do pay people for work that they do. What we do is we give them a set fee, and it depends on what your budget is. You give them a set fee, and they can take 4 hours or 14 hours where they kind of come back with a stylescape that fits the brief and the design direction they were given. So if you're doing spicy and you come in with mild, chances are that's not going to happen because Jose's process, he picks the kind of crazy designer to do the wild one.
I pick the designer based on direction.
And that is about being an art director or creative director, knowing is for what project, right? So he's not going to always pick the same people. Somebody who's kind of more tight, like Swiss corporate design, that's probably a really good person to pick for your middle or your more on-brief solution. Because you also don't want to pick somebody who's not good, because there's a very strong likelihood that the client's going to pick the safe one. You want to live with that, right? So it's always got to be good. So I hope that we answer that question, that we pay our designers to do work.
I can tell you exactly how much I paid for one direction, 2 days, for a senior person, $750. One day, I say, look, you do one direction, one stylescape, and spend a day and a half, whatever.
But 2 directions?
For one.
One.
For one. And this is web, specifically. And it was for MySpace as a client.
Okay.
And Noiseworks said that swear jar must be ready to burst, Jose.
The what?
Swear jar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we need one here.
We need a swear jar. Yeah,
I will just collect.
So here to look at the final Stylescape real quick and just again, and the big question that people might ask is like, well, I can add more interface elements, I can add more interiors, I can add some sketches
and you will.
of the interior, and I will.
It's gonna look a lot.
But notice that this doesn't look like how would I say it? And I locked the background.
Like a mood board?
It doesn't look like a mood board. There is a narrative that I'm trying to tell, and I am going to present it. When I present it to the client, I'm completely going to address the narrative. I'm going to tell them, starting from, I like to, it's funny because I read like that too. Like I start reading from the back. And it's printed. So I'm sitting there, hey, so here's some Stylescapes. Here are the brand attributes we based each. I read the intro from the brief, and then I say, what do you like and what you don't like? And I let them talk. That's it.
Great. So let's wrap it up. I hope you guys found this focus on design and process to be helpful to you. Let us know in the comments below.
Was this helpful? What do you think of the design? Yay, nay? I mean, I came up with the name like super.
We have another question, but I think it might be better to answer it online.
Yeah, let's do that. So let me wrap up the show, and then stick around if you guys want to do this. We'll continue the conversation in overtime, okay? So
what
next,
we're going to just stop?
No. Yeah, we're going to stop.
We should
shut
stop
the show
and
down.
start again and do
That's
10
right.
minutes of Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just let me do it.
For it.
It will work.
Go
Okay. So next time we get together, I think in 2 weeks, I'm going to do the same process, except for I'm going to talk about branding, messaging, identity, that kind of stuff. And so you'll see my process.
Big
topic. So we'll do that in probably 2 weeks.
Remember, right now we're at 3 o'clock.
No.
Pacific.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Just so people remember what it is. Make sure you subscribe. Below. All the resources are below.
Remember, that's it.
No, somebody keeps on asking to promote at what time.
It's always the same time, guys, until we change it.
Do we have the episode for next week? We know what it's going to be?
No, he's saying 2 weeks from now he's preparing an episode equally to mine. But next week we're going to have a topic of your choice. Are we shooting next week?
Hey, let's not have this conversation. Let's wrap up the show. Thanks for watching, guys. Stick around for overtime.
I felt prepared. Trista was like, you can still hear the audio. I hear it. I know where you're at. Oh, buy the core kit. Yeah.
Oh, support us if you like this. Buy the kit. And subscribe.
Nice job.
Do both.
Maybe we need to hang a little longer on that slide.
I was